want is on the other side of fear. Think about that for a second. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. I spent my whole life being afraid. More accurately, I spent my whole life letting my fears define me, define my capabilities, define my limits, define who I am. I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of what people might think of me. I was afraid of being rejected, being ignored. I was afraid of saying no. And as a result, my self-esteem kept going down and down and down until I had none. And I told myself, I'm just a shy person, that's all. But now I know, and now I understand that I'm not a shy person. And I never was. It was fear. It was so much fear that I had in me that turned into an insecurity, a social anxiety. All my life I've heard phrases like, you're weak, you don't stand up for yourself, or you're a little awkward. Fast forward 3 years later to today, and my friends and sometimes strangers come up to me and say, you're bold, you're brave, and you're confident. So how does this happen? How does someone go from being described as weak to someone that's being described as confident and bold? Looking back at how I did it using one task that if you do over and over again, then you can face your fears and achieve your goals as well. When you get an impulse to do something, then get up and do it. Do it quickly before the negative self-talk kicks in and you talk yourself out of doing it. Because that impulse that you're getting, that's your gut instinct, and it'll help you face your fears and achieve your goals. Today I'm going to tell you 3 stories. 3 stories where I listened to my impulses, and as a result, I was able to achieve my goals. My first story is about the very first time I challenged myself. The very first time I challenged my social anxiety. It was time for a doctor's visit, so I picked up the phone, dialed in the hospital's number, and I gave the phone over to my mom because I was too afraid to talk to the person on the phone. And I know that sounds like a trivial task to most of you, but to me that was terrifying. My dad finally looked at me and said, you want to go to college abroad? You want to study and live by your own? Then prove to me that you can get a doctor's appointment yourself. And at that moment, I got the impulse to pick up the phone and do it myself, and I did. And that was the very first step I took into getting over my social anxiety. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. My second story is about public speaking. A few months ago, a group of us here at JB Hunt wanted to go to Virginia Tech to recruit some students. And we were trying to decide who should give the 2-minute pitch or speech to convince these students to come work for us. And I got the impulse to volunteer myself to do it, and I did. And before you know it, I'm sitting in the auditorium at Virginia Tech watching students walk in. But they wouldn't stop walking in. It ended up being 300 students in that room. And my name gets called up on stage, and I'm walking up. My heart's pumping so quickly. My stomach's about to turn. I am so nervous. I'm about to throw up. I get up on stage, and the worst thing that can happen to a speaker happened to me. I froze. I froze, and I forgot everything that I have rehearsed and practiced. And here I am, staring at the audience of 300 people, staring back at me, waiting for me to say something. And I said nothing. It took me about 5 seconds to recover. And I got off stage and I immediately called my dad and I said, Dad, I'm never going to speak in public again. This was humiliating, it was embarrassing, it was the worst moment of my life. And he paused for a second first, and then he said, don't you think politicians, CEOs, and successful people don't get nervous when they speak in public? Don't you think that they also sometimes forget what they're about to say? What matters is that you're recovered. And I realized he was right. I was able to recover within 5 seconds because I faced my fears previously and had so much practice in Toastmasters. Maybe next time I could recover within a second or less. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. My third story is about my worst fear of all time. It's something that scares me more than sharks, snakes, and alligators combined. I consider myself a strong, independent woman, until it comes to centipedes. About a month ago, I woke up on a Saturday morning in my apartment, and I saw a centipede on one of the towels, and I screamed. And all I could think of at that moment are the stories that I was told as a child about the centipedes located in the mountains of Lebanon. The story goes that if a centipede crawls on you, then with each of its legs, it will grasp you so hard, it'll be so painful, it will be the most pain that you will ever experience in your life. But here I was, standing in front of the centipede, not knowing what to do with it. I don't want to touch it, I don't want to look at it, I don't want my shoes to touch it, and I didn't have bug spray. So I grabbed my all-purpose kitchen cleaner and my bathroom spray, and I'm standing in front of it. Should I spray, should I not? I'm going back and forth, so with one eye open and one eye closed, I decided to spray. But it was faster than I was. And it hid, and eventually I lost it. And I had to leave for an event, and on my way back, I decided to buy bug spray, and I walked into my house, and I decided that this is war. It's either me or the centipede inside my house, and I was on the hunt for it. So I looked, and I looked, and I looked, but I couldn't find it. So I thought to myself, if I was a centipede, where would I go? And I looked around the towel, and I saw a lot of jackets that were hung up. So hoping that I would find it in there, I didn't want to touch anything, of course. So I grabbed my long broom, walk over to a jacket, grab it with the broom, walk over to my washing machine, and drop it inside. Then I'd walk over to the second jacket, grab it, walk over to my washing machine, and drop it inside, hoping that I'd find it in there. Before I started my washing machine, I had a look inside. And I was right, it was there, crawling on top of my jackets, and at that moment I screamed my lungs out. And I'm not a screamer. If somebody decided to be funny and they scared me, I'm a, oh, you scared me type of person. But here I was scared, screaming my lungs out, watching this disgusting centipede crawl over my clothes. So I grabbed the bug spray, sprayed it inside, shut the door, started the machine, and boom, not only did I face my fear, but I killed it too. So I will leave you with this. If you get an impulse to do something, then get up and do it. Do it quickly before the negative self-talk kicks in and you talk yourself out of it. Because that impulse that you're getting, that's your gut instinct that will help you achieve your goals. So today, if you got the impulse to sign up for a speech, then do it right now before you can talk yourself out of it. And in a meeting, if you got the impulse to speak up, then speak